So they wonder how a white person like me can end up here. But it's not my fault. It's how the problem it is where my problem have taken me. You haven't seen the cabbage I sell. You don't see the cabbages I sell outside here. You know, cutting with the basins and take it over to everywhere. Do you want to buy? Do you want to buy something like that?
This woman was left alone by parents, and she's been struggling with surviving in Africa, living a difficult life in poverty with no food, dirty environment, no running water, and relying on selling cabbages on the streets to survive. But why did her parents leave her to die in Africa?
Mi naitwa Mary Nyokabi. Mama yangu Mkikuyu, baba yangu Mtaliano.
Hi, my name is Mary Nyokambi. My mother is Kenyan from the Kikuyu tribe, and my father is Italian. Their story goes back to the colonial era, when my father was an Italian prisoner of war held by the British. He was brought to Kenya to work on construction and farming activities. That's where he met my mother, and that's how I was born.
We have reported on many stories of foreigners moving to Africa and finding themselves in financial hardships. From a former American captain who is struggling, to a Russian who regrets his decision to marry a woman that led to homelessness, and a man who is called a foreigner in his home country. Yet, none of these stories compare to the unique and dire situation of this woman, whose life is totally different from that of an average European. Why is it that no one helping her? This is her painful story. Her father intended to take her away from the Kenyan village to Italy, hoping to offer her a less complicated life. However, every attempt he made to do so was unsuccessful, and he eventually left her behind to struggle with the harsh realities of life in Africa.
Hawezi tafutika kwa sababu hata mama yangu hakushika jina lake vizuri.
I never got the opportunity to know more about my father, especially since my mother never memorized my father's name. I remember even before my mother's death, I would always ask her my father's name, but she couldn't even pronounce the name. My mother later had other children after me who was black, and I'm the only one who was white.
Her life of struggles began a long time ago, specifically during the 1950s in Kenya's emergency period. During this time she was shot in the leg while serving food in the forest on the front line, and almost lost her leg in the process.
Nilienda shule standard 1.
I was taken to a school attended by children of white parents, even though I started a bit late. I was the oldest in my class, surrounded by children with British fathers. At school we studied English and were a mix of different nationalities, including Indians and children of European descent. However, when I was in primary 5, the white families, including my father, returned to their countries, and the school was closed. From that moment, I realized my life would never be the same again.
Since her father left, she never had the courage to find him, especially because she had no information about him, not even his name. Therefore, she had to settle and endure hardships like many other Africans. Later, she got married, but the marriage was not as successful as she had hoped.
I met a very handsome man, and we fell in love and started living together. I hoped our relationship would last, but it didn't turn out that way. My man was not the good partner I had hoped for, which led to our breakup. That's why I'm here alone now. He was addicted to gambling at the casino and would take my hard-earned money to gamble. He came from a wealthier family, unlike me, who was born into poverty and had to struggle. I consider myself a fighter.
During her childhood, Life was quite complicated and challenging because they were often attacked by what she refers to as evil spirits. To combat this, everything had to be done before it got dark, including cooking.
If you were fortunate enough to have something to cook, you had to prepare your dinner before 7 p.m. After that time, there was a risk of violent attacks so severe that you couldn't tell if